Hello and welcome back to the post-match pint. This week we are again on Apple Podcasts and again the second episode of YouTube. We're joined this week by, once again, Mr. Marcus Tembe.
Hello.
He's going to be a regular now by the sounds of it. Mr. Ollie King for his second episode. And Mr. James Kavanagh, second episode. He's here with us again. This week we're doing a big topic. The Premier League season's coming to an end and we're going to do our Premier League team of the season. In front of us, as you can see, apart from if you're listening to the podcast, we have pieces of paper of all the lads' team of the season so far. Obviously, there's a few games left. I doubt anyone's going to show up in the next few games. But yeah, it's all, at the minute, all very secretive. No one knows what we've put. We've done a full 11, different formations, ranging from 4-4-2 to Marcus Tembe's 4-2-4. So this could be absolutely bonkers. We've done signing of the season and manager of the season. So yeah, I think it's just best to go straight into it, boys.
Yep. Should we all get flip a paper?
Yeah, let's flip us pages. Keep it as secret as possible. Obviously, I know we're close together, but let's keep it close.
I wonder who's all gone first.
Right, so I'm gonna go first. I'm torn between two, and I'm hoping one of you two have put the same one as me, so we can kind of decide. At the end, we will decide between the complete 11. And we'll send it to the Premier League and say, this is your team. Alright, so in goal, I've gone Martinez from Aston Villa.
I think, honestly, I'm going to have to agree there. Best signing of the season. Arsenal, absolutely ridiculous to let
Is that a little insight into your sign of the season?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, it's not, to be fair. He isn't actually there, but I think keeper-wise, you cannot underestimate his impact this season.
He's been unbelievable this year. Obviously, you can bring in... Well, who have you got?
See, I was going to go for Mendy, but I actually went for Martinez.
You can tell he's a Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
So you've done Martinez as well?
Yeah.
Kav?
I was torn between two. I was torn between Martinez and Kasper Schmeichel. I think he's kind of kept Leicester in a number of games this season. Yeah. But I have also actually gone for Martinez in goal.
I think position one, number one on the pitch, we've got Martinez. Yeah. We can finally put that in the last squad. Let's talk about Martinez. Bit of a reject at Arsenal. Played the last few, the last half of the season last year. I think a lot of us were surprised that Arsenal even sold him. And then coming into this year, like similar to Kasper Schmeichel, he's kept Villa in a hell of a lot of games.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's your people up there. Obviously, City are top of the league. You could put Edison in.
Yeah, but he's got what could arguably be one of the best defences in the league this season. Like that back four is solid. So for Martinez to do what he's doing week in, week out with there are good players in front of him, but they're not the level that Edison has in front of him.
I have to agree, and very rare in games, Edison has nothing to do. A lot of the times he's doing pretty much nothing. Half of the game, he's getting a pass back into his feet and then spraying it out wide.
Exactly.
I think a lot of times when you watch him play, he's very rarely making saves to keep City in the game. Although obviously he's a very good keeper.
I just always think that if you think back historically in terms of what have we described as a goalkeeper team of the season, you've always thought David De Gea when he's had loads of saves to make. Yeah. Even you think the last couple of seasons Alisson, where you've had that Liverpool defence who maybe haven't conceded many chances, but he still actually has been having to be called into action. We don't think Edison's probably been called into action as much as those types of goalkeepers. So has he shown his full kind of saving ability, etc. this season? He has also made a couple of mistakes, I think. He's made a couple of mistakes in a few games. So I think that's where the definition of what's going to be a team of the season type goalkeeper, definitely going to be somebody who's been making those saves, keeping their teams in games, which I think for myself, that was why I was torn between Schmeichel and Martinez. I think the pair of them were have been kind of pivotal to their change. And the key thing that I would always say about a goalkeeper is if you took that goalkeeper out and swapped it with somebody else, how much would that team drop off the pace?
I mean, I'm going to throw in a bit of a blind, really left field here. Carl Darlow could be argued the same reason. He was absolutely instrumental in Newcastle actually gaining points before Dubravka came back.
We
would have lost.
I understand that.
I know what you mean overall.
Martinez has come at. I think the story behind Martinez as well, like he was a bit of a reject at Arsenal.
How long was that? Was that Arsenal for 10 years?
10 years.
Literally never played for them. Only cup games. Then showed up in the cup final last season.
He hardly played any cup games.
Won it for them, and then literally they sold him, which I think everyone, including Arsenal fans.
Well, George has said to us a million and one times, I can't believe we sold him.
It baffled everybody.
I think the situation which they found themselves in is they couldn't guarantee him number 1 football. And I think he got to the point where it was like, right, I need number 1 football or I need to move on.
Yeah. Well, everyone saw that in the cup, really.
Yeah.
Like that was highlighted how good a player he actually was. Yeah. So as soon as that came about, everyone, like, Villa made a very smart decision, brought someone in who is a proven good keeper, been in the Premier League a long good time, and look how it's helped.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm quite surprised because Villa have had a bit of goalkeeper roulette going on for a number of years now. I think they've had 7 goalkeepers in the last 3 years or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And they've just been stopgapping. You think of the likes of Pepe Reina, Tom Heaton. They've had like quite a few good, experienced goalkeepers. And to be honest, I was a little bit sceptical when the signing first went through. I was thinking, is this just going to be another one of Villa's goalkeeper roulette, shall we say? In terms of which is it going to be another one who comes in 6 months and then they're like, oh no, we need to change again. So for myself, I think that's probably why he's goalkeeper of the season.
Yeah, I think I'll agree on that one. Let's put him in number 1 position in the final.
Definitely.
Right then, let's move on to left back. Obviously, this is where our formations are going to come into a bit of a play. So if you've got a different formation, I'm playing 4-4-2. Just to put it that way.
Same.
So my left back, I'm going to go Luke Shaw.
Good show.
I would also go Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
For God's sake, I've also got Luke Shaw.
And welcome to the Manchester United fan who's also got Luke Shaw.
Well, I think we laugh and we think, bloody hell, everyone's picked Luke Shaw. I can't think of another one in the league that's played like Luke Shaw this year.
No.
As weird as it sounds, as much as we've all said Luke Shaw, he's been so underrated in that team. Yeah. Like, he's not gone out and done anything fabulous or special. He's done that job to perfection, though.
I think the best way to describe Luke Shaw from Man United standpoint this season has been Fernandes towards the start of the season. He really got us going, he got us ticking, but Luke Shaw carried us when other players were off form. Yeah. You think of the likes of the Manchester Derby where he was scoring, particularly the games in and around Christmas where he was starting to really kind of rise above the other players and starting to really put those solid performances. It kind of relates back to kind of a bit like Andy Robertson the last couple of seasons. Not, he's not getting all of the goals, all of the assists, being the number 1 main man, but he would always kind of be there putting in an 8 or a 9 out of 10, getting an assist or a goal every other week, every couple of weeks or so, and that really just carries a team forward. And like I say, I think when you think back to the actual left backs this season, I think left backs as a whole in the Premier League probably haven't had a great season. If you think about the likes of Andy Robertson, there's not like a massive amount of competition. You think of Chelsea, they've had like Alonso and
Henderson as well.
And Henderson, they've had a combination of Chilwell.
Chilwell's probably that was the only player which I was sort of 50-50 on, because I think Chilwell's been very solid this season. Yeah. And I'd actually say, given about the amount of signings we brought in, Chilwell probably for me has been my best Chelsea signing.
I think you've got to say for Luke Shaw as well, because he's been so mediocre before. Obviously, he had the starlight season when he first came to United from Southampton. He was very good, but apart from that, he's not really done all. He's not, and I think this year he's. Although I am in agreement, he's been exceptionally good. Sometimes I think, is it just because he's been a bit crap prior to this?
I think this is what he would have been like if he'd not broken his leg.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I
injuries
think this
are
is what he
massively
was setting
scuppered
him
up
up for. And if he hadn't broken that, like you saw him at Southampton, he was ridiculous. Like, he was genuinely an incredible player at Southampton.
I agree with that. I agree that the injury, well, any injury of that sort, is going to massively hinder a player, psychologically and physically. But yeah, Luke Shaw. Who else would you put in the mix in that position? Obviously, Chilwell.
I would agree with Chilwell. I think he's not had the consistency that Shaw's had.
I think that's the difference between Chilwell and Shaw this season, is that Shaw, again, I think they're both very similar. They will have those standout games. They will have those games where they do great things, but in terms of consistency, obviously we've seen with Tuchel coming in, he's swapping it around a little bit. He still doesn't probably, in his mind, know what his best left back is.
Can I say something that's really weird? And I think this is probably the first time we're discussing 2 left backs do the best in the Premier League. We're both English. Like, and you think the last probably good left back we had as an English national team was probably actually Cole. Like, consistently over, and that is very strange to be sort of sat here thinking about and be thinking, why are we discussing these when you think some of the left backs that are in the world and have played over the seasons.
Well, you're talking about left backs, but gosh, the English right back conundrum is still a different conversation.
That's a conversation for a different episode. That'll be a good hour conversation when we get to talk about the Euro squad.
Definitely.
So yeah, let's put Luke Shaw in as well into the final squad.
Yeah.
So we've got this is going quite well so far. I didn't expect us to be all agreeing.
And now we'll go to right backs, and that'll completely change.
So right back, let's do that. I've gone Cancelo.
I've also gone Cancelo.
I don't even need to say it.
Cancelo.
Well, I've gone something completely different.
Oh, here we go.
I've gone for Vladimir Kufal.
Oh, hell of a shout.
From West Ham.
Yeah.
So the reason being is I did consider Cancelo like the others. I just think that obviously it's not really down to Cancelo, but Pep has rotated him quite a bit. I think in terms of consistency, Kufal, he's been in my fantasy team since week 1. He's been getting points every single week, and for me, he's been one of the most consistent kind of fullbacks. He gets an assist every other few games or so. Yeah. He's never really been benched by David Moyes since he's come in. I think he came in to start the season. He's come in and he's just done the job. He's got 7 out of 10 every single week. And whereas I thought, Cancelo's done well, he gets those weeks where he gets goals, assists, etc. But then I think Pep's been rotating him that much that I couldn't consider him for the Premier League, just focusing on Premier League as the team of the season.
I agree with that. And also at the same time, even though I have put Cancelo, he doesn't normally play as a right back. He plays very high up in midfield. When City go to attack, he is that extra man up top, like pushing into the box.
That's the main reason why I've put
him.
He changes Pep's game, doesn't he?
He does, he really does change.
A lot of times this year, well, we spoke on a prior episode when we were just doing the podcasts. The effect that Cancelo has on that City team, especially when they were at the peak, when they went, how many games did they go unbeaten?
It was like
18 games or something like that. While they were at the peak of their powers this year, Cancelo was a fundamental part of that team of pushing forward as far as you can and playing balls in. And scoring as well, you know what I mean? Like, he scored a good few amount of goals, whether that's Champions League or whether that's League Cups or. But yeah, I think we will all agree that Cancelo is in there for a certain reason. Kofal's a very, very good shout, and I think us three will agree on that. Let's debate: do we go Kofal or do we go Cancelo?
You see, it's an interesting one because half of me goes Cancelo because obviously when he has played, he's been incredible. Like, he's totally changed up that City team. You saw come up to, I think it was just before December time, they were struggling a little bit. And then all of a sudden he plays Cancelo in a bit more of an attacking way, and that just changed up City. Yeah. And like City just dominated since then, and you've got to give him a lot of credit. But on the other hand, you can also say he doesn't play every game. He misses, it's quite a good rotation that Pep has with the depth.
Is that not just because City are in so many good positions?
But this is where I think the argument comes in. Again, Marcus made the great point there. Is Cancelo didn't come in really till about the November-December period, playing regularly. I know he was swapping with Walker quite a lot. Yeah. He then got into a bit of consistent form between sort of December to February, March time, and then again recently he has just started to change it around a little bit, just because of the cups and you all mentioned the competition. Yeah. If we're looking at a Premier League team of the season, for example, I would say that Kufal, I think, has played pretty much every minute of every game.
So we're saying that Pep Roulette's ruined Cancelo's chance.
I actually think it could have done, yeah.
From a Premier League point of view, I would say I'd have to say Kufal.
Let's put Kufal in, and I have to agree with that. Pep, you've ruined Cancelo. Let's go to centre backs now. We'll do both of them at once. So I've gone. I'm assuming you guys have done exactly the same as me. Stones and Diaz.
Exactly the same.
Stones and Diaz.
I thought I would be a bit different. This is Stones and Diaz.
Diaz.
I have not got Stones and Diaz.
Here we go. Right, okay.
This is going to be an interesting
one. Who have you gone with?
So I've gone with Phil Jagielka and... No, so I have gone with Diaz. I think, obviously, since he's come in, he's really made a difference to that Man City team. He's really strengthened the team. And then I was torn between Stones and another new signing is Wesley Fofana, is who I've gone for in the Leicester team. Sure. I think if you're looking at across the kind of teams, who would you describe as number one, number two in terms of centre-back partnerships, etc.? I would have said Man City. You've got Diaz who leads it, and then Stones is kind of the one who potentially is number two. He has been changed again with Pep Roulette, as we were just discussing with Cancelo. I think Stones, again, has changed a few times. Don't get me wrong, I'm putting him up there as number three, number four. But I feel in terms of consistency, in terms of the impact he's actually had on that team, I think actually Fofana has come in and really kind of changed that way that kind of Leicester team play. The number of goals that they're conceding, for example, I find them quite a difficult team to break down when you look at it. Particularly with the experience he's been getting from Johnny Evans, I think that them two again is a brilliant partnership, just like Stones and Diaz. But I think in terms of consistency, in terms of how Leicester have done well this season, I think everybody, because of the way that they've played the last few seasons, is maybe underestimating how well I think they're again overperforming again this season.
I think that's a really good point. I'll also add to that Fofana's still extremely young.
Yeah.
Is he 21?
20.
It's like
Jesus.
at the age of 20 to be able to come into a Leicester team who was already performing very, very well. Obviously, like you said, Johnny Evans has helped him out a lot.
Yeah.
The only reason why Diaz gets in, I actually put Fofana in. I was going to put Fofana in as well. The only reason why Diaz gets in front for me is because he's had the Virgil van Dijk effect on City
massively.
As Liverpool was an excellent team coming into the season before the season they signed Van Dijk. They signed Van Dijk and they turned into a world class team.
They ran from top 4 to Champions.
They needed a solid defensive structure. At the time, Virgil van Dijk were one of the most talked about names in the world. Defensively. Diaz wasn't so much.
And that's where I kind of would rank it. Diaz as number 1, Fofana as number 2, and John Stones as number 3. Rather than.
So we'll agree that Diaz is in.
100%.
Diaz is transformed that City team this year. Arguably the best signing so far worldwide. Obviously, we'll come to our best signings later on.
I was going to say, like, you literally just look at what he's done, and that's the reason why us three picked Stones. Purely off what the Diaz effects was.
So let's talk about Stones. The reason why Stones is in for me is he is a brand new player now. For some reason this year, Pep seems to have given him a bit of a freedom. If you watched the Leeds game last weekend, by the way, he played what I can only describe as a prime Maldini role, as like pick up the ball, move forward and push Leeds United back. A lot of the times John Stones were on our bloody 6-yard box, spraying balls about and being havoc in the area. We struggled to contain him a lot in that half, and a lot of games this season he's got the confidence to push forward. I am now inclined to add Fofana in rather than Stones because
I think, just to build on what you just said there about the Leeds game, I think this is the key thing that I saw in the Leeds game, which put me to make John Stones number 3, is that he did all that carrying out of the ball, but when it fundamentally came down to, I might be a bit typical English, like a defender who can defend, when it came down to it, he was caught out of position for the Stuart Dallas goal, and for me, defending comes first, then your attacking play comes second.
He caught him at that particular game, but you can't argue that he's not done that pretty much all season, and it's worked for him.
Fundamentally it's worked well for him, and like I say, I think he's gone from a mediocre to my number 3 choice. But I think it just showed that he'll never reach the level that probably a Diaz or a Virgil van Dijk will reach. Because there's always that extra 5% that you sometimes.
I have to add in as well that, and I've said this to you boys a lot. John Stones turns up in the Premier League when there's a European international tournament coming up. He did it the year of the World Cup. That season he played it amazing. That's why he got in the squad. This year he's playing amazing. That's why he's going to get in the squad. It seems to me that added bit of motivation or playing time gets him going. That's not to say that he's not being excellent in the league, and that's why he's been so good. But I would be inclined to put Fofana. I'll leave that to you boys to decide that.
What I could say, and I'm probably actually with Cav's argument there, agreeing with you. I think Stones' next season will be the crucial season. The reason I say that is this the transformation he's had with Diaz partnership. It'll be interesting to see how they step on next season, because they are still learning. You know, we look at this partnership and we're going, this is a great partnership. And this is when we talk about Edison for keeper. It's a great partnership, but it's still only in the first season. You look at some of the best centre-back partnerships over the years. They've been going 3-4 years before they had their standout season together. You're looking at Vidic Ferdinand sort of partnerships. I think next season, he could be number 1 or 2 in the league.
This is where
I'm
looking forward to next year now. The whole Van Dijk and Gomez thing coming back, because I think next year they're going to be special together. I think they're now next year be the 3rd or 4th season playing together. Obviously they've been out most of this season, but that doesn't mean that they've not been training together, and they've had this whole we're both injured, let's be brothers, let's do this together thing. A lot of the time when you see on social media and things like that, they're together, they're training, they're getting through their medical rehab together and things like that. next year in terms of centre-back pairings is going to be special, and that's why sometimes when people say, "Oh, Liverpool are done now," nah, they've got
a whole new defence coming back, and I think that's really what will be interesting to see is next season how that evolves, and particularly obviously how John Stones fits in. Is that Diaz-John Stones partnership going to be the same level as a Van Dijk and Joe Gomez?
You talk about the reading of like each other, and as you say, them two spending all this time together this season, injured together. They will start mentally being on the same wavelength, understanding players. You ask all the good partnerships you read about. The one thing they say is, if he's going for the ball, I know where I need to be to cover.
Sweet.
Or you know exactly where. If they go there, you need to go there. Then you just read it like that, and that's
sounds like me and Keir at 6 or 7.
You're halfway over the pitch.
You've got to think as well that John Stones' performance this year has knocked Laporte out of the squad.
See, this is the reason why I'm actually going to stick with Stones. I'm sticking to my guns. Because I think that whenever you look at City year on year, they always had, when you put that centre-back pen like right now at your squad, you've always had company. Yeah. And then it's like, who do I play next to him? Yeah. They had Otamendi. Otamendi was awful. Mm-hmm. And I think Diaz was always seen as, it might be like that. Like a lot of times when City spend a lot of money on a player, my default reaction is going to be, is he going to be a really good one, or is he just going to be another person that they played overpriced for, especially centre-back? They've not had a lot of success there. Stones, for me, has cemented it. I think that, ignoring the whole Pep roulette, if it weren't for the fact he likes to rotate his players so much, it would always be Diaz and Stones. I think that's a very secure partnership, and I think it's got on a lot of things. And obviously, Stones has made a couple of defensive errors, but we didn't put Edison in for the exact reason that the defence of City has been incredible.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the other options, Cancelo plays midfield most of the time. Yeah. Then on the left back, you've got Mendy or Zinchenko, who are, again, you don't go, Mendy comes back with that challenge or Zinchenko comes back with a challenge. It's Diaz and Stones which has been solid, and I think that's why.
Yeah, I do get what you're saying. It's now like they've finally found that perfect partnership. Yeah. Look, the decision falls on Ollie King.
Well, we do have a place on the subs bench, don't we, as well? So I think we, for Cav's reasoning around Kufal, I think we could look at it and go him in the first team, and then Stones on the bench. I do agree. I think Stones next season will arguably be that 1 and 2. I just think for this first season where he's actually come and hit like that top level, we've got that to come next year, to be honest.
So we're going for Fofana. So we're going Martinez, Shaw, Diaz, Fofana, Kufal.
Oh, it's all the pieces of my piece of paper.
Right, we're going to have to start to count a bit more now.
Premier League Manager of the Year, Cal. All right then. So I've gone 4-4-2, typical British. Let's go for it.
I was going to say, I've gone for CDM as a 1 in the back, because I think arguably this player, you cannot overlook him. He's been instrumental. I was a big hater of him. I'll hold my hands up. Beginning of the season, I think you probably know who I'm talking about. Because I used to absolutely slate him in fantasy chats. But Declan Rice this season has been absolutely phenomenal for West Ham. Yeah. He's been everywhere for them. He's been instrumental in that. And now I'm wanting Southgate to start him. Like, I've gone from not liking him at all to now being like one of his biggest fans this season.
Who have you gone in centre mid?
So I've gone for a three across the midfield. I've also gone for a West Ham man, but I've gone for Thomas Souček.
Okay.
Interesting. I went for Højbjerg. I think he's a very good shout.
That's an excellent shout. That is an excellent shout. So I've gone Declan Rice as well, but obviously in a 4-4-2. Yeah. Højbjerg's a
great The reason why I
really
go
left field
is because I've watched pretty much every Spurs game this season, mainly because I have Son and Kane in my fantasy team. And it's all like, I feel like a second Spurs fan, which is just weird. But like, whenever I watch them, Højbjerg's the one player who is just always solid. Like, Ndombele's very good with the ball, but dangerous to have. Sissoko sometimes is incredible, sometimes is not. Højbjerg has totally changed that team up for me. I think after Kane, he is then my next best player.
I'd argue Højbjerg's been Spurs' best player this year.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Souček.
Souček, I think, when he came in January, he did start to do quite, obviously not this January before, when he came in on loan. I thought he did alright, he did well, and then I think this season, he's West Ham's top goal scorer. Don't know about after Lingard's goal, but I think he's West Ham's top goal scorer coming from that centre mid CDM type position. Yeah. The extra avenue, you can't undermine that he's now come in on a permanent deal this season and has added that extra avenue into that West Ham team. particularly every set piece they're getting, it's a bit like, oh, is he going to score a header? Is he going to do this? And you think about the number of important goals that he scored for West Ham this season, the amount of times that they've won a game 2-1 and he's scored. Particularly that first half of the season, I think he was instrumental, and that's why for myself, you couldn't really discount him from the team, in my opinion.
Well, I'll argue our point with Declan Rice.
Yeah.
Last season he was fantastic. A lot of people thought, first season syndrome, let's see how he goes on next year.
Guilty of that one.
And he's absolutely outstepped the mark this year. He's been unbelievable. The fact that he's now a regular in the England team says a lot. The fact that Gareth Southgate trusts him to play that position and lets him run freely. There's been a lot of talks of him moving clubs, and it doesn't seem to have phased him.
No, I was going to say, he's had a lot of hype, but he stays very grounded. I mean, you look, obviously, Henderson, obviously, he's been out injured this season for Liverpool, and yet we're talking about Rice being the starter for England.
Yeah.
And no one's giving thoughts to Henderson. Henderson had a great season last season. Everyone's looking at Rice's performance this season and going, you're head and shoulders above that because of the team you're in.
It's got to the point where we've said a lot, I can't see Henderson getting in, which is absolutely bonkers because
he's so instrumental.
He's captain material. Well, I'm pretty sure he's vice captain behind Keir.
Yeah.
He's been there. He's won the trophies. He's come from nothing in the Liverpool team. Like when Gerrard were in, just being a squad player to building all the way up. Now he's captain of that club. Does he get in over Rice? Not for me. Not for me. Obviously, that's a different topic, but I have to agree the same thing as you, that he's come on leaps and bounds this year as Declan Rice, and I would be very, very surprised if he stayed at West Ham for this next
I
year.
will be. I think if he has a good Euros, I think it's going to go mental for him.
I think West Ham could be in trouble.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 different players there. Unfortunately, I think Højbjerg misses out, but I do think that's an amazing shot.
I'm always going to stick to my guns there. I think he's been incredible this season.
I think he has. I think absolutely. But
do you agree, Højbjerg, Souček over Højbjerg?
Yeah, I would say Souček. I think Souček, and I was torn between having both of them in my team, and I benched Souček for that reason.
Just checking if I've actually not.
For it, because I think Souček's been outstanding as well.
Okay. Let's argue it. Give me a reason why Souček must get in over Rice.
As much as Rice has played well, he was there last season when they weren't playing as well. Souček has come into that team. The amount of goals that he's scored that have won West Ham games and won West Ham points, I just think that he's just that little bit better than Declan Rice in the sense of the influence that he's had upon the season.
Right, so I have to argue that Declan Rice is West Ham through and through. He's the next Mark Noble. He saves a hell of a lot of goals.
He's absolutely. I agree for the point of Souček doing scoring and actually winning the games, but Rice keeps them in it, and he keeps that attacking defence together. Mm-hmm. For me, he is instrumental in that role.
Happy with that?
Yep.
Declan Rice. So Declan Rice. So we've gone Martinez, Kufal, Fofana, Diaz, Shaw, Rice.
Eventually, this is going to get quite difficult.
Yeah. Next. Midfielder, I've gone another centre mid because I've gone 4-4-2.
Yeah.
I've gone two like attacking centre-mids here.
Right, okay, right.
This is where it gets confusing.
This is where it gets confusing.
Everyone should have just gone with the same format.
Yeah.
It's alright, we'll work it out. So I've gone the man, the myth, legend, Gundogan.
He is in my team, but not in that position. But yeah, I will agree he has been outstanding.
Well, if he's in the team,
he's in the team.
I'm for Bruno Fernandes.
Christ, okay.
I've gone Gundogan.
Right, so Gundogan's in. We don't need to speak about Bruno.
He's in my team.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's also in my team as well. Right, this is what I mean. Fernandes is the midfield for me.
So I've gone, arguably I probably shouldn't employ this formation because Rice is more of a holding midfielder. I get that. Let's talk about Gundogan first. Obviously he's in our 3 squad. Always been seen as squad rotation player. Always been seen as, he's good off the bench.
De Bruyne backup.
Yeah, that's especially what he was. Was it last season or the season before, where he did exactly what he's doing this season? Well, it's slightly worse.
It might.
Where he was coming off the bench and scoring loads of goals, and Pep were like, oh, actually, what's going on here?
I think that might have been when he just came from Dortmund.
Yeah, I think it wasn't far off. For me, he's been instrumental, just as good as Foden, who I'm sure some of us have got in the team as well, and Diaz this year in that City team. Popped up with some important goals this year.
Yeah, and that's the most annoying thing is I remember in fantasy draft where I put him just a week before he started to hit form. I put him on the trash, on the scrap heap, and then Keir picked him up. So he's been the most annoying player of the year for myself. I think he had about 10 points when I put him on the trash heap. But no, he really, I think it was around the November time after the I seem to remember it was after a Champions League game where he played well in the Champions League and then he started to pick up a load of form. I think that Chelsea game really started to show, hold on, he's actually here for the season. In that sense, I think what he's managed to do is he's Pep's decided to change his formation up, and Gundogan's been playing a bit more as a centre forward, to be honest, rather than that centre mid position. Yeah. And he's really, I think what's actually happened is he's transformed his game from being that sort of centre mid CDM type position to actually playing a bit more sort of cam centre forward type of a position. And that transformation has led to him getting involved in a lot more goals, and arguably City won't be where they were today if he hadn't played stepped up to that.
Absolutely, like De Bruyne's obviously had his injuries, his issues this season, and he stepped up to the plate. Like we were all looking at that, going, De Bruyne injuries, they're done for the season. Like because he was the star of the show for them last season, he was pulling the strings, and he stepped up. And you're now looking at going, how does De Bruyne actually get into the squad if he's not playing well? Kind of thing. Like De Bruyne's got to step back up to his old form to even push him out now.
Literally, that's the thing with the City team, and it just shows how good Pep has done as a job as a manager. Last season, if De Bruyne didn't turn up, City didn't turn up.
Yeah.
And you look at it now, and De Bruyne doesn't play, and they play incredible. Like,
well, we were saying yesterday whilst watching the game that it is absolutely bonkers now that De Bruyne starts, and if same in the Leeds game, apart from De Bruyne didn't come on, but it's absolutely mad that they're like, oh, we're getting beat here. Let's bring on Gundogan
and take off.
Let's take off De Bruyne. Take it off on 60th. Let's bring on Foden. It's odd that they're doing that. Obviously, that goes down to the depth of the City squad. Let's talk about your formations then. So I'm assuming you've gone cam.
So I'm just going 4-3-3. So I've just gone as like a flat 3 midfield.
So you've gone.
So the other midfielder which I had in there was Maddison.
Okay.
I think for obviously injured at the moment, a lot of issues on last team, but they were flying. That link-up play between him, you could even argue maybe Harvey Barnes as well has had an exceptional season this season, like a breakout season, and they've been instrumental. As the same you talk at Leicester at the back earlier, they've really given that attack some absolute oomph, and they were running riot for a good period over 2 months where they were just involved in goals galore.
And
Maddison sits what you kind of call between the natural lines of defence and midfield.
I think Maddison's injuries
probably
rules him out.
Yeah, probably has scored him. Yeah.
That was the same thought that I had. I kind of alluded to it, for example, Cancelo. I looked at Maddison and I thought, did he have a good couple of months or has he had a good season?
Yeah, fair enough.
And when I boiled it down again, I think Harvey Barnes again was one that I considered, but unfortunately he got injured at the wrong point. If he'd played another couple of months, he'd have definitely been in my team. I just feel as though, did he have that complete season or did he have a good few months?
Fair point.
And that was where I ended up going for, even though at the minute he's not in great form, I did go for Bruno Fernandes because for the first 5-6 months of the season, he was carrying us through the season. Granted, he's not been as influential in the last few weeks, but he's still been playing. He's still been playing those 90 minutes, and he has still been popping up with those assists. So you look at his numbers, and he's right up there as one of the best in the league. Granted, he's not been as influential, but my thought from a Man United point of view is Fernandes for the first half was the most influential. I would argue that Pogba has been one of the more influential recently. But if you're looking at consistency over the two of them, I chose Fernandes over Pogba just because of the consistency.
Is that the same reason that you chose Bruno?
Yeah, he hasn't, the last few games in particular, he hasn't been incredible. But if you think about what he's done to that Man United team since he's been there, it's incredible. It's genuinely remarkable. He's changed the whole dynamic. And with some of the players, some of the goals he scored have been likened to Cantona. For me, I just couldn't leave him out of the team. I think that I made the mistake of not bringing him in fantasy in the first 8-9 weeks, thinking, I don't need to bring him in. And that was probably the biggest mistake I made this year, in the sense of he was just always there, always making goals. And Pogba's had a really good turnaround. He's looking a lot more like he's playing to stay rather than playing just for a transfer. But at the same time, I just think that Bruno has to be in the team.
Right. Okay. Let's discuss as our front line before we decide on the midfielders, and I think that's going to be the best way to do it. So you've gone 3.
I've gone left wing, right wing, striker.
And you've gone.
I had another midfielder in there, and I went one up top.
I've got A left wing, right wing, and 2 strikers.
Right, so I've gone left mid, right mid, 2 strikers.
Yeah, same base, same, yeah.
Right, okay, so left wing / left midfield.
I've gone for Heung-min Son.
Okay.
I'll probably just have to say the only one that's missing is Grealish at the moment.
Oh, you don't have one, do you?
No, I don't, but
this is where my thing gets a bit weird. I've gone for Mahrez.
He plays right wing.
He plays right wing.
Yeah.
Right wing.
Because I've got a right winger at left wing.
Oh, for God's sake. I swapped them 2 rounds.
Yeah, I was
Right,
going to say.
Right, okay, I'll put Salah in.
He's a right wing.
Oh, no, I'll put 2 right wings in.
Oh, for God's sake, right. Okay.
Wow.
Right wing, left wing, I've gone Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
I'll argue my point first. Most foul player in the Premier League. That's it.
He has been absolutely. I mean, he's a
it's quite clear from that stat alone, and I hate stats like that, but it's quite clear to see that he's causing a lot of issues for teams. He is Villa's best player by a country mile. The influence that he has on the games where they're behind, and he literally picks up a game by the scruff of the neck and takes it to him. Yeah, he doesn't turn up with goals every single week and assists, but he plays vital part in that team. Has to be in the England team as well.
Yeah.
Has to be.
So Grealish is on my bench. He was one that I was weighing up, and again, I think similar to the comment I made with regards to Harvey Barnes, he for me has been really influential, which is why he made the bench for myself. He's just been injured for a little bit now, and I think again, thinking full season, the reason I went with Son is I know he's had a couple of games here and there, but that Son-Kane partnership, you took that out of that Tottenham Hotspur team this season.
They'd be done.
They'd be like Arsenal.
Yeah. I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, yeah.
Let's go Mahrez.
Let's talk about Mahrez. Well, I think if you look at how he's played this season, you could argue he's been a bit of a victim of Pep Roulette. But the fact is, with all the new additions that City have, and it's very much a case of if you don't turn up, you will just be like, look at Laporte right now.
Yeah.
Very good. He doesn't have that loyalty necessarily there. And you look at Sterling. Sterling for me has been like, this has been his crucial season to turn up, show what he can do. And you see the relationship that Pep had with Sterling a year ago is now what he has with Foden. Foden's his golden boy, whereas before I said it was Sterling. Mm-hmm. I think Mahrez has just been perfect. Like, I think that his ability to take games, win games for City, and actually shine in a team which is just an outstanding team in general, is the reason why I've had to include him.
I like it. Just to confirm, you don't have Jack Grealish as a cam.
No, I don't. No.
Okay.
But
we're gonna have to discuss formation at some point. Let's go through the right wingers first.
So the right winger I've gone for is Mohamed Salah.
You've also gone Salah.
You see, I can't argue. Like, I mean,
I've also gone Salah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, my formation's a bit fucked at the moment, so I've probably said my players during this. So
right.
I think we've all agreed on Salah.
Right. So let's go Salah. We're playing we're either playing a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Strikers.
I went for Kane. I think Kane has to be there.
You've got 2 strikers, right?
Yeah. And the other one, this was a difficult one for me, but I went for, given how he's played during the season, DCL.
Yeah. I could agree with both. I went for Kane in my starting lineup and DCL on the bench. So I've got one.
I went for Kane as my starting striker, and on the bench I went for Patrick Bamford.
Well, we know which one's winning this one.
I've gone obviously 4-4-2. I've gone Kane and Bamford. Let's talk about Kane first, because we'll give a good 20 minutes talk about Patrick Bamford and Kane this season has been special.
Yeah.
See, I think what's happened is which is why I've had to put Son in as well. Is I think the combination between himself and Son has carried that Tottenham Hotspur team through this season.
Yeah.
I think the best way to describe it is I don't think Kane has actually improved loads, if I'm honest. I think you look back at his stats and he's added more assists to his game, but he has got a similar stat level to the number of goals. It's just that Tottenham Hotspur team has been carried by those 2 players pretty much throughout the season, which is why I included both of them in my kind of team of the season.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think for me, I have Son on my bench because I think that if you don't play Kane, Son isn't going to be anywhere near as special. No one's going to rave about Son as much as Kane. Yeah. I think the thing with Kane, what he's changed this season, is he's come back a bit more. Like, he reminds me of, when Rooney and Van Gaal, and he played him more as like a centre mid and brought Rooney from this striker,
almost
out
like
and out
false
striker,
nine, yeah.
to almost back a little bit.
So the conversation was for a while, especially with me, I felt like he was doing that out of frustration of Mourinho's tactics. I don't think he was doing that because when Rooney did it, it was because he was aging.
Yeah.
And because, well, he found it much easier to play deep.
Yeah.
I feel like Kane's done that this year, and this again shows the quality of player he is, that he's found frustration in Mourinho's tactics, and it's quite clear. Although he might like playing under Mourinho, he certainly enjoyed playing under Poch more. He has to be in. I think we'll agree that Kane has to be there.
Absolutely. I mean,
without trying to sound bad, actually, I don't think there's been as much competition at that central striker
I agree.
point.
Yeah,
because you think about the likes of Man City, they don't really play a striker. You think of Chelsea, they've not really had a striker per se to put into that mix.
Yeah.
Obviously, Man United, we've got a striker, but has he been the number one focal point? Again, you'd argue not, and that's kind of top sort of three. Liverpool as well, they haven't really got a striker.
Firmino's never been a striker. He's more
but that's what I mean. You're talking about four of the top six who haven't really got a striker.
Yeah. And that's why we're talking about DCL in this conversation.
I think DCL has to miss out purely because he was good for the start of the season. He's not really.
Again, I agree with that. I think the consistency in terms of if Everton were where West Ham are, totally would understand that. Yeah. Whereas I think they've started to dwindle off a little bit. And in that sense, I think one of the key things that I always talk back to is Patrick Bamford has had a tough time in the Premier League beforehand. He's had to go down to the Championship. He's played with Middlesbrough, he's played with Leeds. And I think this season, particularly obviously under Bielsa, I think the reason why the expectation of Leeds is to stay up. They're now in mid-table, and I think you've got to contribute that a lot to Patrick Bamford. Whereas you'd look at the Everton team and you'd say if they were where West Ham are, it's got to be Calvin.
Yeah.
But I think Leeds are overperforming in that sense for that.
You've got to say as well, obviously, there is this whole like first season syndrome with Leeds United, and look, you know me, I want Leeds to stay up, but I don't know what's going to happen next year. I have no clue. Am I scared about next season? Yeah, absolutely, because I know that first season, the rub of the first season is gone.
Look at Sheffield United.
Yeah, Sheffield United.
Yeah.
For example.
Although I do think we're better than Sheffield United, it can happen, and it's quite clear to see there with Sheffield United, like you've said. Bamford's like third top scorer or fourth top scorer in the league. That can't go unmissed. That for me isn't first season syndrome. He's a quality player.
So coming into this season, were you worried that you weren't going to score the goals that you were needed? Did you think Bamford could step up in the way that he has?
No, not at all.
I was going to say, I think everyone in the league were looking at Leeds going, where are these goals going to come from, kind of thing. Because
I don't get me wrong, I knew there'd be goals, but did I think the majority of them would be from Stuart Dallas and fucking Patrick Bamford? No, absolutely not.
No.
Jack Harrison, I thought would play a massive part. When we signed Rodrigo, I thought he would play a massive part.
I'd say he's probably the flop of the season.
Well, he's been injured for a long time.
This is coming from a Chelsea fan.
We'll just go.
Shall we just go through your starting 11?
Let's not talk about Timo Werner. I agree with you. I expected him to score. I could see his quality in the Championship. However, if you look at his games that he played last year, he wasn't a clinical striker.
You always felt you needed 10 chances to score that one goal.
Absolutely.
I thought it was going to be a bit more like a Charlie Austin, who is incredible in the Championship. Very, very good striker, comes to the Premier League.
Shit in the Premier League.
There's so many of those examples, those type of strikers, but
Pookie's another one of those.
Absolutely, yeah. Congratulations to Norwich, by the way. They've just been promoted, haven't they? So,
that was a best say,
yeah.
We're all looking forward to that away day.
But I don't know what we do here. Obviously, I'm going to say Patrick Bamford and Kane. Do we go 4-4-2 or do we go 4-3-3?
I honestly think for the reason which we were discussing, the reason why Bamford's come into the conversation, I think just the one striker, the midfielders, and we've said it over the season. There's a lot in there to have five in midfield. Yeah, who are stronger.
I think that debate we just had in terms of the top four don't actually have a striker. It's quite difficult to.
So we're saying 4-3-3.
Yeah, that matches my piece of paper.
Should we just listen to his list and just go from there?
4-3-3. Obviously, we've skipped over your players that you've not added in your other midfielders. So who have you got?
Oh no, it was Fernandes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. I think we've done that. Let's go through it. So we've got Martinez in net, Luke Shaw, Fofana, Diaz, Kufal.
Yeah.
We're doing 4-3-3, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right, so we're going
Declan Rice.
Declan Rice.
Just read your piece of paper,
Gundogan.
Yeah, good
Declan
one.
Rice, Gundogan.
I went for, we discussed Fernandes.
Yeah, Bruno.
I think he's got to be overall.
There's 3 of us who've gone for him, so it's
Majority vote.
sorry though. Striker was Kane.
Yeah.
Right wing, I think everyone did we agree on Salah?
So,
Yeah.
And then left wing, that was the one.
left wing we've got to argue. Right, okay. So, Son, Grealish,
Mahrez.
fucking Mahrez.
Mahrez is right winger.
Heck roulette there.
Let's
Just
get
kicks him
Mahrez
out,
out.
I think.
I don't know.
So yeah, I'm Grealish, but you can argue both here.
I'm massively with the Son shout for the partnership of Kane and Son, but
See,
as an individual,
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
this
with
is why I
Paul.
put him on my bench.
When Kane's injured, he's not as prolific in that team.
well, you've seen over the last few weeks, he's not really done much.
Yeah, like
No.
that's the issue. He hasn't
The
turned up.
only reason I went for Son over Grealish is probably to do with game time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, for me, Grealish, you take Son out of that Tottenham team, not much happens. You take Grealish out of that Villa team, you can see.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, like, I've never been a fan of Jack Grealish. I just don't think, when he first came on the scene, he's always been that very arrogant.
Yeah.
Like, he's a player who is very easy to dislike, but he's also, at the same time, very, very, very talented. And it's not something that, like, when he first came on the scene a few years back, it's not something that I'd ever thought. I'd say, like, you used to get slammed in the papers all the time for just not giving, like, not caring, always going on nights out, even when a team's done bad, posting loads of stuff on social media. But genuinely, he has been incredible this season, and like even when it's been chances created, it's been just general passage of play. It might be the pass before the assist, but he's always instrumental in taking them forward. Always, like, he is like the big fish in the small pond.
Yeah.
And so I think Grealish for me.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Right.
The only downside is obviously the pass before the assist doesn't get me fantasy football.
Yeah, that's very true, to be
Right,
fair.
so we finally decided 4-3-3. Martinez, Luke Shaw, Diaz, Fofana, Kufal.
Yep.
Gundogan, Bruno Fernandes, Declan Rice.
Yeah.
Jack Grealish, Harry Kane.
Mohamed Salah.
Yeah. I think we haven't even really touched on Salah here. Like, Salah, considering Liverpool having probably one of the worst seasons, and out of shape, he's been phenomenal this season. He's had his best season in terms of like attacking returns, and yet it's doing nothing for them.
Yeah.
It's absolute madness that he's doing so well in that side.
I seriously think that Liverpool would be a lot lower down if he wouldn't have played as well.
If he'd have played how Mane has played this season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. I absolutely agree. Like he's saving them, and it's unbelievable.
I like it. Right then, let's pick 5 subs. I think the
Okay.
first one on the sheet, on the subs bench, and the first chair is Patrick Bamford. We're
we're
all in agreement with that.
Yeah.
All that discussion.
Yeah.
I love how we just lost a sub. You told us to write 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, we told you to write 6 because we're going to dwindle down and leave one out.
Oh.
Right.
We also agreed on Son, didn't we? I think.
Are we going to go Son?
Yeah. I think he's got
Right,
to be.
so that's 2.
Okay.
I've gone. So I'll list off my 6.
Okay.
We'll all do the same. Forgetting that obviously Bamford and Son were on there. Son didn't actually even make my bench, but Bamford made my starting 11. So I've gone Foden, Tyrone Mings, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, Thomas Souček, Jared Bowen, Jesse Lingard.
Interesting.
Okay.
Go on.
You go first.
Oh, cheers. So I've gone for Edison, De Bruyne, DCL, Son, Dallas, and Souček.
Dallas is a great shout. Cav?
Jesse Lingard.
Yeah.
Mason Mount.
Yeah.
Rafinha. Bamford. Grealish. Harry Maguire.
Oh!
And then
Are you a Man U fan, Manny Chance?
we obviously got Son.
Yeah.
Got Chilwell. Got Lingard. Got Stuart Dallas. Got Rafinha and Jota.
Jota's a great shout.
Yeah. I thought
That's 2 massive shouts from you, Højbjerg and Jota.
Also,
should be
can I just say,
Mm-hmm.
do you not want to keep her on your bench?
I'm
I've
going
got-
Nah, mate.
I bet. How have you not got a keeper? We've
No,
literally been
keeper.
debating the keeper between Martinez and Edison.
No
You've got to
keeper.
go Edison.
Right,
Got
so the
to go.
first 2 we're going 100% Kane, Son. Yeah.
Came in the starting 11.
Yeah,
Sorry. Bamford and Son.
Bamford and Son, yeah.
Sound like Roy Hodgson at the Euro.
Jesse Lingard's got to be in there.
I think like everyone can turn around and say that they did not expect that happening.
Yeah, I think although we talk about the debate when we talk about players over a season, looking at the best player of the season.
Yeah.
He's had the best stats since he's made the loan move in January. You cannot.
It reminds me a lot of Bruno Fernandes when he came in last season in the January.
You cannot argue that. Like, he has transformed West Ham. He's kept that momentum going of that top 4 push.
Yeah.
I think they were falling down before he came, to be honest.
So that's a 3. Bamford, Son, Lingard. Cav, give us one. Let's argue it.
Harry Maguire, let's have this argument.
You see,
No, done.
I was going to say, I honestly think because we're having the debate about Souček in the starting 11, I think he has to be on that bench.
You think?
Yeah.
I could agree with that.
Souček?
Oh yeah,
Souček.
yeah.
How many subs are we going to have? Like one sub to debate him?
Well, that's the 4th.
Souček.
So we got one more.
Mason Mount.
I've also got Mason Mount.
See, I just think that you look at Stuart Dallas and he's been incredible. You look at Rafinha. I think Rafinha can maybe be boxed off.
Well, we've got one other award.
Yeah, but you're talking about things like, you know, the attacking players and all that. I think you do have to look at the defensively minded player on the subs bench, and I think Dallas would be that argument for me.
The man plays up front.
I know he does, but he is.
The reason that I've put in Mason Mount is you look at Chelsea this season and everyone who's come in, etc. And you look at all of our teams. No one's actually mentioned a Chelsea player yet, and they're potentially going to get the top 4. So from my mind, I was thinking, right, they're looking at top 4. Who's been their best player or most improved type of player? And for me, that was Mason Mount.
I think most improved, yeah. I think when you look at the consistency of the season, though, he's not been there.
I'd argue as well that Leeds are about to finish the first Premier League season in top half, and Stuart Dallas has scored. Well, I'm pretty sure he's second highest goal scorer.
So my argument against that would be Leeds are going to finish in the top half, yes. We've already got one player from Leeds in that team this season. You've got Chelsea who are going to finish 4th.
Yeah.
And we haven't got a single player who we've even discussed.
Okay.
If we're talking Chelsea, Mason Mount has been the best player,
100%.
hands down. Like, he changed up their entire game. Like, against Porto, we were really negative, really awful. Mount does a nice turn, scores a goal, and that just sums up how he's been for us this season.
Yeah.
Always takes the ball, always goes forward. And I think the thing that's really sort of cemented him as a really good player is under Lampard, he was like his golden boy.
Yeah.
He came from Derby. And then Tuchel came in, first game of the season, Mason Mount was on the bench.
Yeah, he took him out straight away, didn't he?
We drew 0-0 with Wolves.
I think that's mainly because Tuchel came in and he was like, "Wow, I want to play experienced players before I start mixing around my team."
I'll agree with Tembe on that. You look at Mount; he's instrumental so much so that, you know, he gets the stick of, you know, even Southgate's golden boy now, kind of thing.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah, massively. Like, he has been instrumental, and again, you know, you're looking at Rice debate for England, like, he's solid in that. Mount's also for me, and again, I was a massive, I wouldn't say hater, but I didn't rate him. I thought he was overhyped when Lampard played him.
Let's go into a bit of a shootout then. Cav, who are you going last position on the bench?
I'm going Mason Mount.
Keir, I'm going Dallas.
I say I'm gonna have to go Mount. I think Tembe's argued it really well, and he has made great points there.
Given I wrote Dallas, but I've argued a really good point from Mount. I'm so happy to go from Mount, aren't I?
So Mason Mount.
Yeah, Mason Mount.
Right, so bench: Bamford, Son, Jesse Lingard, Thomas Souček, Mason Mount.
Yeah,
There's one still.
Yeah.
There's
one player which we've touched upon a bit, but I want to sort of mention that has been absolutely phenomenal this season, but it doesn't make it purely for the reason of Pep Roulette. Phil Foden.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
and I think Champions League. I think when you're talking about overall season in Premier League, he's done great things, but not consistently. He's done a lot in Europe this season.
And that was where my consideration between him and Mount of who's been the most influential for the team and who's been the most consistent. I would just say that Mount ticks both of those boxes ahead of Foden.
I would personally put Foden before Mount, but
I think over the course of the season, and talking just Premier League, I think Mount is far stronger.
Okay, let's move on to the 2 awards of the season, really. First we'll do sign of the season. Cal, who have you gone for?
I've gone for Ruben Diaz.
Okay.
I've also gone Diaz.
I went Martinez. I think Martinez has really changed up that aspect.
So I've gone Rafinha. Non-biased.
I was going to say,
serious.
you're the Leeds fan here.
Let me argue my point on Rafinha. Coming into the Premier League this year, Leeds United was a Championship squad. We had no standout massive players. Calvin Phillips, you'd argue, would walk into the majority of Premier League teams, but apart from that, there's not many that would.
Yeah.
Apart from Newcastle.
We signed Rodrigo. Amazing. Club's highest transfer fee. Fantastic. He's yet to show what he's got to do. I think he'll come next season. Obviously, he's been riddled with injuries. Robin Koch came in, he's going to be fantastic. He's shown a lot this year, despite also being massively injured. Llorente, at first I was like, this guy is absolutely shocking. What have we done? Now he seems like an absolute Rolls Royce. He played amazing against City. But Rafinha for me, and I think you'll all agree, when fans are back in that ground, they're going to be paying to go see Rafinha. And that's the first player in my generation of Leeds United that fans, although obviously they love Leeds, they're going to be like, I can't wait to see Rafinha tonight. And that's hardly ever happened for me as a Leeds fan. I've never ever gone, oh, I can't wait to go see Patrick Kisnobo. Like, come on.
Yeah.
He's going to get bums off seats, and he adds to me, and I've said this to you a lot, he adds Premier League flair to my team. As in, he's like bombing down.
Does to Newcastle.
Exactly. Exactly. He's bombing down the wing. He's flip flopping bloody. He's putting it through Gary Cahill's legs and making him look stupid. Leeds United players don't do that, and he's also added an immense amount of goals and assists to us this year. He suits our game style to an absolute T, and now I understand why people were saying, "Who the hell's this guy?" And now everyone's going, "Wow!" Like so that's my argument at signing the season, just purely for the fact that he's changed Leeds United from a Championship team to a Premier League team, with no questions asked. Really, he's still really young as well.
Yeah.
So the argument I'll give for Diaz, I think, building upon that, I think we've already discussed it. He has changed that team. I think, in my mind anyway, Diaz has been the Van Dijk signing for Man City as he was for Liverpool, and he's only 23.
Yeah, exactly. I think I went for Diaz for the same reason, like we talked about earlier when we were selecting the back line, and he even brought Stones into that argument, which he's transformed City. They were arguably a great team up front attacking with De Bruyne, pulling the strings up top. They didn't have that defensive person to say, we can bomb forward, even put Cancelo into the midfield as a result effectively when they go forward, and we're solid at the back.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Diaz has absolutely transformed them, and as you say, 23, that potential.
That was the deciding factor for myself. Is I thought Diaz was a lot older. I thought he was 27, 28. When you find out he was 23, wow, that's why for me, if you're looking at signing in terms of as a whole potential going forward, that was why I had to choose Diaz.
Why did you pick Martinez then?
Diaz, next company in my eyes.
Yeah.
So, but you take Diaz out of that team, are you still going to have a very good team? Yes.
Yeah.
You put Rafinha in that team, I think, again, that's why I had him on my bench. I think he's been incredible this season, but you've still got a lot of good signings. Yeah. Martinez, for me, is the difference between Aston Villa being the team that should have been relegated last season due to a dodgy VAR decision to where they are. And, I think that without Martinez, without that assurance, they have assurance at the back, they trust their keeper. Any team that trusts their keeper, look at Sheffield United. Last season, they trusted Henderson.
Yeah.
The defence was very good, trusting Henderson, bombing forward. The centre-backs like Lundstram were getting goals and assists left, right and centre. But this season, they have no... Ramsdale's been awful. They have no trust in Ramsdale's putting a good performance. So they've stayed back, they've held back. Whereas Villa have just been exciting because they know that Martinez is always going to save. I saw him the other week. A couple of weeks ago, he made a mistake. And that is the first mistake I've seen Martinez make. And it was a hell of a thing, but it was more shock than anything. Because from every single Villa game this season, I've never seen him do something like that. I just think that without Martinez, I think they'd have been relegated.
Can I put in a little bit of almost like a form to say that Rafinha's not in the team of the season, but Martinez and Diaz are?
Yeah.
Just to give him a bit of an award.
I think for that exact reason, that's why it rules them out. These two have come in and signed into the league.
They've already got an award.
Yeah, but that's the reason they're in the team, because they are standout players. They've transformed both sides, and I'm going to stick with Diaz on my side for argument's sake, but I can exactly see Martinez's reason.
It sounds like a majority vote for Diaz then, a player.
It sounds like you're deciding factor here, Mr. Burrow.
Well, I'm saying Rafinha, I'm not backing.
Well, that makes it 2v1. That's perfect.
Let's go Diaz then. I think he would be my second if Rafinha didn't play for Leeds United.
Yeah.
Deciding on that?
Yeah, right.
Player of the season, or signing the season, sorry. Diaz.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm on 10 out of...
We should have just got you to stand
it. It'll be a lot quicker just do it as a 5-minute read.
The final one of the episode, manager of the season. Cav, you go first.
Paul Heckingbottom.
Yeah. What a great guy. Go on.
I've gone for David Moyes.
See, I was thinking about Moyes, and he's gonna love this. I went for Bielsa.
I went for Pep.
I also went for Pep.
Oh well, that's easy.
I think Pep, you can argue, has the squad. I think also for the City reason the squad's there. I think Moyes has done incredible with budget, and that's why I was considering. Bielsa though has taken what shouldn't have happened in the first season of football into the league effectively. He's brought Leeds in, and they've just been constantly attacking. They've never looked scared of a team. They've always gone at a team. The result against City the other week just epitomises that for me.
Yeah.
For it, you see how every other team comes up. They're scared to go forward. They're scared to play. Fulham, West Brom are only just starting to show it now, but I think for them it's going to be too late.
Mm-hmm.
Leeds have gone up and just ran through the start of the season because no one expected them to do it, and Bielsa stuck to his guns constantly.
No, we just have to say that the recording stopped on the podcast. So when I'm talking about manager of the season, Ollie is arguing Bielsa.
Yep.
I'll go. There's a reason why I went David Moyes. This boiled down to, if you watched West Ham in game number 1 of the season...
Can I just say before you go any further, a Man United fan
is
going David Moyes. But go on.
So the reason I'll go for that is, Ollie will probably think it was the greatest game of the season after game number 1. You'd have Callum Wilson who'd scored twice, away at West Ham.
Hold on. Jeff Hendricks scored, which epitomises where West Ham have come from this season.
Everyone after game number 1 went,
oh dear,
this West Ham team are in trouble.
Yeah.
Then let's get this straight. They are now challenging for the top 4. We are now 31, 32 games in, and they are still in there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
We all just read through our team of the seasons, and we all had a good few West Ham players in there.
Yeah.
As a Man United fan, I know that like I say, now looking back on hindsight, David Moyes is that brilliant manager who can get that middle of the league, sort of mid-table team and get them pushing up. This is the second time he's done it. He had Everton do it.
I think it performs better, weirdly, with a low budget and a tight...
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. And the reason that I think that he has to be manager of the season is you look at all of those type of players that we've all listed. We've had your Bryce, your Souček, your Lingards, your Koufals.
Yeah.
The number of different players that you've got who are, let's be honest, have been average at best previously and are now kind of in that top 4 mix. I can't look past that, to be honest.
There's loads of players that we could add from West Ham as well, like you see Jared Bowens, Masuaku, who's playing
Antonio.
Yeah. I have to agree that you're probably right there.
I was stuck between Bielsa and Moyes for those.
The reason why I put Pep is it's there in black and white, and it's top of the league, absolutely flying. He's still in multiple competitions. Look, we could be coming at the end of the season when we do our end of the season review and saying Pep Guardiola won nothing.
Yeah, well, this is what I mean. He's having a great season. He's challenging on 3 fronts now, obviously, with losing the semi-final yesterday against Chelsea, which Marcus, as you can tell, is overjoyed.
Thank you very much.
But he could be saying, we've won nothing. And that, for me, he's not won anything yet this season. He's doing great, but...
2 things that I'd argue, which is why I went Moyes over Guardiola, is the expectation coming into the season was that Man City would win the league or compete for the league.
Absolutely.
The expectation of West Ham was not to go challenge for the top 4.
Yeah.
Nobody sat there and went, right, David, if you don't challenge for the top 4, you're out the door.
Exactly. They would have been looking top 10, I reckon.
Yeah, the fact that he's been out of the club and then come back in as well says a lot. I have to agree with that. I think I'll scratch Pep off and put Moyes.
Another one.
I'm going to throw out a curveball. And obviously I went for
We've already said Marcelo Bielsa, you don't
No. I'm going to throw out even more curveballs. But the reason why I didn't say this manager is because it's not the end of the season, and where his team are currently right now, they could still get relegated.
God, if you say we're going to sell.
Nah, I think it's going to go Scott Parker.
No. I'm going to say Sean Dyche. Because I think Sean Dyche, year on year, has had nothing. He's had no funding, no money. He's literally had to do his team with the worst budget, with just no one backing him, and no one picks up the fact that he's managed to keep that Burnley team in the Premier League for a lot of years now. And they could get relegated, but the fact is they were actually winning a few games, which is
I'll be honest. I agree with him. I agree with where it's coming from here, because everyone used to rave about Bournemouth and Eddie Howe for that exact same reason. Yeah. He was keeping them up. They were 15th, 14th around that area, and he was doing amazing things. And that, yeah.
But look at the players that Bournemouth had there. Callum Wilson, they got Stanislavs, they got a few good.
Can I just argue though? You're arguing
a team which could be relegated.
Manager of the season, the potential relegation.
So the reason that I would say, this is the best way I'd describe it, is if we all sat there on day number 1 of the season and predicted our league table, and it was the actually correct league table, you then probably argue, right, Burnley, if they'd stayed up, manager of the season. Yeah. You've got the likes of West Ham who've had this season beyond belief.
Absolutely.
Which, if we had Evan in here, the West Ham fan, and you sat him down on day 1 of the season and you went, we're going to be 32 games in, you're not going to be challenging for the top 4.
No, absolutely.
Even after week number 1, you wouldn't argue. If you sat a Burnley fan down and went, you're going to be 15th in the league, they'd be like, well, we'll take that.
Exactly.
It's good, but it's not unrealistic.
When we obviously speak to Evan about this, he's literally just in dreamland. He cannot believe what's gone on this season.
No, he's flying at the minute. Yeah.
None of them thought anything like this was possible.
David Moyes then. I think that's a good place to end it, boys.
Hold on, you missed that referee of the season award.
We're going into the European League, so that one.
Mike Dean wins that award. Thank you very much for watching and listening to the post-match pint this week. Team of the season done. We're coming to an end. Let's hope the next few weeks show some crazy results and Leeds United finish top half. Boys, thank you very much for joining me. Appreciate it. Until next week. Goodbye.